everyone, welcome back. This week in Level E, we're going to be going over lessons 65 through 68, and you'll need worksheet 42, which will be used for several lessons, the short multiplication chart, which is appendix page number 1, the activities for learning Abacus, the math card games book, and your basic number cards deck. In lesson 65, we will be practicing finding remainders, and we'll talk about dividing by 0. After the oral warm-up questions, go ahead and have your child read the story problem and ask him or her to solve it and explain the process used. If your child did not use the method that is recommended in the book, you can say great. I mean, as long as it worked, say great. Another way to solve that problem is this, and then work through the problem again as the book explains. The next section talks about preparing for the division remainder game. And as you'll see when playing this game, it really has your child working through a lot of math in order to figure out if they could win, because they want to get the highest remainder, and there's lots of different choices. So to prepare for that, you're going to write out the numbers 2, 5, and 3, and ask your child to make as many division problems as possible, and then choose the one that has the highest remainder. In the next section, we're going to be looking at what happens when you try to divide by 0. Go ahead and work through the examples in the book, and you could even have your child try it on the calculator to see what happens. Next, you'll play the division remainder war game and finish up with the in conclusion section. Notice the last question. I'll read it to you. It says, well, the whole in conclusion questions say, if you are dividing a number by 5, what is the largest possible remainder? If you are dividing a number by 9, what is the largest possible remainder? And if you're dividing a number by n, what is the largest possible remainder? So this might be a little bit challenging, especially the n part, because your students aren't quite used to working with variables as much as they will be. So if they're a little confused, go ahead and give some more examples like the preceding ones. You know, if you divide by 5, what do you get? Until the pattern is discovered. If they're still having trouble with it, I would go ahead and really walk them through an entire problem. So, for example, if you're dividing a number by 5, let's say it's 20 divided by 5, what will the remainder be? The remainder will be 0, right? All right, how about 21 divided by 5? The remainder will be 1. 22 divided by 5, the remainder will be 2. 23 divided by 5, the remainder will be 3. 24 divided by 5, the remainder will be 4. And 25 divided by 5, the remainder will be 0, because it's circled around again, right? So now it's going in evenly. And then I'd say, okay, what's the largest remainder out of all that work that we've just done? How does that compare to 5? The largest remainder was 4, and therefore it's just 1 less than 5, right? Is that true for a number divided by 9? We could go through the whole process again. How about by 4? So if we don't know what a number is, we can represent that number with n. So how could you show what the highest remainder would be when dividing by n? So hopefully by now they're going to get n minus 1. That's what the highest remainder would be. So after going through all of that process, and you might not have to do 3 examples, 1 might be enough, but your child should be able to say, okay, it's that number minus 1. So if we don't know what the number is, we can say n minus 1. All right? In lesson 66, we're going to learn to divide by 2 on the second side of the abacus. Go ahead and ask the warm-up questions and make sure that your child understands that there's 14 ones in 14, as well as 1 10 and 4 ones. Have your child write out all the ways that he or she knows how to represent division. The division house or box may or may not be a new concept to your child. If it is, spend a little bit of time explaining how it works using the examples from the book. Next, let's take a look at dividing on the abacus. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how that works.
Okay, notice how over here when I wrote the problem 8,476 divided by 2, I've placed these little dashes above the numbers, those are just target lines so that your child knows where to write the answer. And you'll see on the worksheets and so forth that's included. So you can do this demonstration on the Abacus all the way through before having your child participate in it. Now, that doesn't mean you don't ask them questions. Yes, definitely ask them questions and have them help you, but they shouldn't be doing it side by side with you. We want them really focusing on what's going on the Abacus. All right, so for the very first thing we do is we move the beads up halfway on the Abacus. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, something along those lines. You may even be able to take a pen and straighten it out a bit. Okay, so then our answer is going to show up down here below. We're going to write the dividend, the 8,000. So here we have 8,400, sorry, wrong line, 400, 710, 6 up here. Okay, so now we've entered our number, and we're going to start off with saying, all right, what is 8,000 divided by 2? So we can remove the 8. We know that the answer is going to be 4,000. So we remove the 8,000 from up above and write the answer 4,000 down below. Next we say, oh, and we can write the number, the answer right here, 4,000. Next we say how much is 400 divided by 2? Or how many times does 2 go into 400? We know that the answer is 2, so we remove the 400 up here, and we pull down our answer 2. Now we say, okay, how many 2's go into 70 or 710? 710 divided by 2 would be 3 with a remainder of 1. Okay, because we could really only divide 6 10s by 2 evenly. So our answer is 3. And now we have that remainder of 1, so it's 16 divided by 2, or 110, 6 divided by 2 is how much? The answer is 8. So we can go ahead and remove these from the top. And I write my answer down as 8. So my answer is 4,200, 310, 8.
So after that demonstration, have your child complete only the first 2 rows on the worksheet. Answer the in conclusion questions and play the division remainder war game that we played in the last lesson. You'll need this worksheet for the next 2 lessons. In lesson 67, we will be practicing dividing on side 2 of the Abacus again. Go ahead and ask the warm-up questions and then proceed to demonstrating how to divide by 3 on the Abacus. I will demonstrate this again because it seems like many people get a little lost with this method until you use it enough. So let's go ahead and try that one more time.
Okay, so remember how we set up the second side of the Abacus for division. We move the beads halfway up. Okay, here's our problem, 6,742 divided by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that number. Here we have 6,000, we have 700, 410, 2, and we're going to divide by 3. So we look at the 6,000, we say, okay, how much is 6,000 divided by 3? We bring the 6,000 down, and 6,000 divided by 3 is 2. Here we have 700. How much is 700 divided by 3? We can remove 600. We know 600 divided by 3 is 2 with a remainder of 1. So here we're supposed to have written our answers. Now the next problem, it's not 440 divided by 3, it would be 140 because we had a remainder of 100 up here. So 140 divided by 3. So 140 divided by 3, remainder of 2, is 4 with a remainder of 2. And now we have 22 divided by 3? We know that would be 7. So we can take 21 away and bring down 7. And there's a remainder of 1.
So notice the note about letting your child discover why you're writing a little number next to the digits. It says to let your child discover what that means. Now, I was saying with a remainder of 1 or with a remainder of 2 as I was writing it. And I think that that's pretty natural. If you can refrain from doing that, then you could go ahead and let your child discover what's going on. Or maybe they didn't catch on to what you were doing, so you could just ask. If he or she doesn't mention, hey, why are you writing that down? I would be likely to ask, so why do you think I'm writing these little numbers here? What do you think that represents? So you are still leading them to discovery, but you're not quite waiting for them to get there. Have your child do the next 3 rows on worksheet 42. Use the abacus at this time because it really makes the 2 situations described in the explanations column very easy to navigate. So go make sure, please, to read the explanations on the right-hand side so that you understand why we're doing what we're doing. Then go ahead and ask the in conclusion questions and play any game of your choice. Okay, moving on to lesson 68. We're going to be working on short division with remainders, and we will use check numbers to check our answers. There is a correction for this lesson, so if your book was printed before April 17th of 2017, please look for the link to the corrections page in the description. Now, please remember to read the explanations on in the right-hand columns because they're really important. This lesson, we're talking about why we're teaching short division before long division. After the oral questions, go ahead and give your child the abacus and the worksheet and tell your child to complete the next 4 problems. Remember, we did the first 2 rows yesterday, so we're just having your child work on the next 4 problems right now. So we can check division problems 2 ways, either by multiplying the divisor and the quotient to get the dividend, so multiplying back to see if we have the same number that we started with, or by using check numbers. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that works.
Okay, so the first problem was 6,846 divided by 2. And the answer that we got was 3,423. So obviously we could just multiply these numbers, here and here, the quotient and the divisor, to see if we get 6,846. That is one way to do it. But another way to do it is to use our check numbers. So the check number for 2 is 2. The check number for 3,423 is, let's see, this would be 7 plus 2 is 9, so that would be 0. So the check number is going to be 3. And the check number for our dividend would be 6 plus 4 is 10, so that check number is 1. 1 and 8 is 9, so the check number for this is 6. And let's see if we did it right. 2 times 3 is 6. So 2 times 3 equals 6. So you might be wondering, how do we do check numbers with remainders? Let's go ahead and look at that. So here we'll have, the problem says 607 divided by 3. And our answer was 202, remainder 1. So how can we check that? We'll go ahead. And your student doesn't have to write the check number if the check number is the same as this digit. I always do, just because I want my kids to know that we're using check numbers. So if your child's not confused by that, you don't have to have them write it in parentheses. But you do when you're adding the digits. So for 202, that check number would be 4. Our remainder's check number is 1. And then 6 plus 7 is 13, so that check number would be 4, because 1 and 3 is 4. So let's see if that works, okay? 3 times 4 is 12. So that check number would be 3. Plus 1 is 4, and our check number is 4. Remember, 3 times 4 plus 1 equals the check number for the dividend, which is 4.
Okay, after completing the worksheet, have your child answer the in-conclusion questions and play the short division game, which is D10 in the Math Card Games book. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. See you next time. Bye-bye.